I think anytime you're expecting a child as a young couple, there is a lot of anticipation, excitement, joy. There's also fears. And when you're confronted with a diagnosis as dire as spina bifida, you find yourself completely without orientation because you don't know what it means. You have probably never heard of that word before. I really think when I compare my children to others of their age, I have to say that adversity and challenges really form their sense of self and confidence in a way that I couldn't have possibly anticipated before. So I'm a very lucky father. Our visit at Focus Orthopedic Hospital was such an empowering experience. We were so inspired by what we saw that Nicole and I decided immediately that we wanted to do whatever we could to support Professor Boris Kodjoe's goals and objectives. One of the most amazing experiences we had in the hospital was the interaction with the kids. There were 30 kids from 16 different countries, and there was a big contingency from Ethiopia. There were tons of kids who have come in from Ethiopia, and they were all gathered in this room, and they were singing songs and dancing, and there were wheelchairs and crutches and braces with the screws in the heads, and they were smiling and laughing, and we were dancing with them, and it was such an amazing experience for us because we could see the joy and the hope and the confidence in their faces as they were going on their journey. And some of them had been there for 6 months or even longer, away from their parents, away from their countries, away from their communities, and they were by themselves, and they found friends and allies in these other kids, and it was such a heartwarming experience to be a part of that. You can tell a lot about a facility, about a hospital, by talking to patients, obviously. And no matter how dire and how serious some of these situations were, all these kids had smiles on their faces. They were singing songs, they were playing with the staff, and it was such a tremendously uplifting, empowering atmosphere in the hospital. And I mentioned it to a professor, and I said, I have rarely seen a hospital that exudes such a tremendously hopeful and optimistic feeling. So I was very, very impressed by that. When we toured the facilities, what immediately grabbed my attention was the fact that there was no difference in resources, in standard, in terms of equipment. There was no difference between Focus Orthopedic Hospital and any facilities that I had seen in the States or anywhere else in the world. I want to be a part of that narrative, to let people know that, yeah, you should go to Accra, Ghana, if you have a child that is afflicted with spinal deformity, because it is the best place to treat such a case, rather than going to New York or LA or anywhere else. Accra, Ghana is now, or should be, the destination. After visiting Focus Orthopedic Hospital and speaking to Professor Boris Kodjoe, my wife Nicole and I are extremely excited about the work that he has been doing and all the people that he has helped. And I know that because of passionate and motivated people like yourselves, we'll be able to have an even greater impact on patients all over Africa. This is Boris Kodjoe. Please stay connected to Focus so we can help the world stand tall.